What's 13 degrees? It's pretty fine. We just under the heat pump. It's probably going to be 20 by the time the video finishes, isn't it? Hey guys, welcome to another one of our live session. We are so glad to have you beautiful people of the internet joining us for an entire hour in which we're going to spend time answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. But first, let's all celebrate together World's Honeybee Day. So,
that's nice.
Honeybees are actually an intricate part of the ecosystem. They are very important in keeping our plants alive. And in New Zealand, we do have a lot of bees. We're pretty famous for a type of honey called Manuka honey, which has a lot of super good health properties. So love you, honeybees. And happy day of you, honeybees. Anyway, let's get back to what we actually do well here. It's answering your travel questions about New Zealand, because we kind of are the experts of traveling in New Zealand.
Yes, this is Robin and I'm Laura, and we're the team behind NZPocketGuide.com, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide and has thousands and thousands of articles to help you plan the perfect trip to New Zealand, whether you're on a 2-week family campervan road trip around the country or staying here on a full year doing a working holiday. We cover all that good stuff on the website, so make sure to check out NZPocketGuide.com. But if you're not really into reading so much, we also do this handy live Q&A session every single Sunday on YouTube at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So you guys can come right onto the live chat and ask your New Zealand travel questions. And just so you know, for times around the world, it's, like I say, 8 a.m. New Zealand time on a Sunday. In Europe, that's on a Saturday. In the UK and France, around 10 p.m.
One day you're going to have to learn those.
Yeah, but they change, so it throws me off. I feel like I always need to have a look. In the US, that's on a Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. EST and 1 p.m. PST. In India, that's bright and early on a Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. And in Australia, that is also pretty early at 6 a.m. So what we do on this live Q&A is we answer all your New Zealand travel questions. But if you do miss the live session, we also take questions in the comments section of any of our YouTube videos, and we pull those together so that we can answer those questions as well.
So you get plenty of way to reach us. So don't hesitate to put your questions. We have had some people this week that kind of send us message on Facebook saying like, I'm not sure if I can ask this on YouTube and everything like that. Just put your questions. We're really available, and we reply to almost every comment that we get on the channel. So that's pretty good. Sherry Rushworth says, good morning. How are you doing, Sherry? How is it going in Australia? And Julie Mas says, hi from Argentina. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for joining us from so far away. What's bringing you here, Julie? Are you planning a trip to New Zealand soon? Or what's the haps? What's happening? And we also have Simply Stocks that ask us a question. And it's quite interesting because the question that Simply Stocks ask us is very similar to a question that we received throughout the week. So here you go. We're gonna go answer that while you guys getting warmed up and ask us some questions. So Simply Stocks on YouTube says, hi, I am from India. I'm planning my first holiday trip of life with my wife and 5-year-old child to New Zealand for 5 days. I don't have a license. Is there an easy way to traveling around New Zealand without a car? And that relates to another question that we received in a YouTube comment saying, hi, Robin and Laura. Thanks for all the nice videos you are making. I am in the very early stages of planning my trip to New Zealand for after the pandemic. Before I start planning details, I would like to get your opinion on the best ways to travel around New Zealand. What are my options and what is best? All right. So there is actually a ton of ways to travel in New Zealand. And so to answer your question, we are going to be covering all the kind of probably about the 10 most popular ways to travel around New Zealand. And we're going to start by mentioning traveling by car. I do understand that when asking your question, you said you don't have a license, but the other person may have a license. And also it's a good option to consider. So traveling by car in New Zealand is actually a very good way to explore most of the country. And it gives you a ton of flexibility. Because when you travel by car, you actually are able to go wherever you want, whenever you want, and there's really not much of a there's really not much in your way. You can be completely in charge of your schedule. So that's already a very a great advantage to traveling by car. There are also a lot of places which are a little bit more off the beaten track, and that usually most of the buses wouldn't get you there. So that means that you may miss a few places around New Zealand, but let's be honest, most of the mainstream kind of areas of New Zealand will be accessible by bus. Also, when you're going to be stuck in a city and you want to explore around and everything, rather than having to try to work your commuting and everything like that, you just hop in your car and you go wherever you want. So the flexibility of traveling by car is it's a little bit of an obvious one, but I feel like it's something that cannot be overstated. And that's why, it is one of the main ways to travel around New Zealand. Now, when you want to travel around New Zealand by car, you've got a couple of options. You can either buy your own car. That is very valid for people which are coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa. So if they're coming for quite a while and they want to buy a car, a lot of people just buy an old used car, and that can cost between between $3,000 to $8,000, something in between there. And you'll be able to just travel around New Zealand for the few months that you're here. The working holiday visa usually allows you to stay up to 12 months. And then around the end of your time in New Zealand, you are going to be able to resell your car. Now, the couple of things to keep in mind when you do that is that first up, watch our video about what to know when buying cars in New Zealand. That's very important to do that. And know that you're going to have to spend a decent amount of time sticking to one area, let's say in Auckland, and trying to buy your car. It's going to take you a couple of weeks, and then trying to sell your car, trying to to get some of your money back and everything. That's going to take you a couple of weeks. Also know that you may lose a little bit of money in there, so don't think you're going to get all your money back. But honestly, they're still way cheaper than renting a car. Which leads me to renting a car. Renting a car is your second option to travel New Zealand by car. There is a ton of rental car companies around New Zealand, and we can talk about renting cars for hours here on this channel, and actually we have so many videos about car rental on the channel, so check them out. But you can also head to nzpocketguide.com. So if you click on nzpocketguide.com, there's a link in the description below. Then you click on prepare your trip, then transportation, and then car rental. And then in there, you will find so much information, comparison of most of the trustworthy companies around New Zealand with our opinion on them and what they're offering and everything. So that will help you make the most of your trip in New Zealand. So here you go. That is traveling by car. Now, the next way to travel in New Zealand is to buy or rent your own campervan.
Yeah, so obviously it offers the similar advantages to having a car, except for this time it has accommodation inside the vehicle. So if you wanting to have the convenience of never having to unpack and repack, going to different accommodations. Camper vans are really handy for that, and can in some circumstances save you some money, but not as much money as you might think. So it's really important to keep that in mind. We do have videos on this channel on comparing, for instance, renting a car and staying in accommodations like Airbnbs and hostels compared to staying in a camper van and going to holiday parks and some free campsites and stuff. Usually the price does sort of work out about the same. So there's always that to bear in mind. But yeah, camper vans are they're kind of a little bit more convenient, and it's kind of like a little adventure that you get to. The camper van road trip is something that appeals to a lot of people. Just hitting the road, sleeping up somewhere for the night. Like, it's more a sort of I guess a glamorized experience doing a camper van road trip around New Zealand.
Freedom.
Yeah, having the freedom to go wherever you want and sort of stay wherever you want, except for you can't stay wherever you want in New Zealand, as there are laws about where you can camp in a camper van and where you can't. And again, we do have loads of videos on this channel about freedom camping in New Zealand and camper van rental in New Zealand. So yeah, it's good to make sure that you are aware of all those sort of things before you decide whether traveling New Zealand by camper van is right for you. And similar to the car, where you can buy used cars and sell them back at the end of your trip, or you can rent a camper van and basically rent a camper van. So yeah, basically there's the same options as cars. If you're staying in New Zealand for I'd say a minimum of about 3 months or so. It is a good idea to try and buy a camper van because that will save you more money than renting. But alternatively, there are a ton of camper van rental companies in New Zealand, which we have loads of articles on nzpocketguide.com to help you compare different camper van rental companies.
So the next option to travel around New Zealand is to take the bus. So there's multiple type of bus, and the first one I want to talk about are the national coach buses. So national coach buses are basically some buses that goes from A to B and will take you throughout the entirety of New Zealand. I think there is at least 200 destinations around the country that you can go to, and the main company that does this is called Intercity. It's pretty simple. It's usually really cheap. You get a bus ticket and you go from, let's say, Rotorua to Auckland, and you all sorted, and you're just going to go drive straight through. It does a few stops along the way, and it makes it super easy to travel in New Zealand, and it's extremely competitive price-wise. If you're really much on a budget and you want to save even more money when traveling by bus in New Zealand, you can get a bus pass. And we do have an article on nzpocketguide.com to help you choose which one is the best bus pass for you, and you'll be able to save a little bit of money on there. So it's a pretty straightforward way to travel around New Zealand. I mean, it's definitely safe for families as well. If you're traveling with a bike in New Zealand, it's not always that you'll be able to get your bike on the bus. So be aware of these kind of things like bike, surfboard, like those extra big items. So be aware of that and inquire every time. Aside from that, I feel like, it's taking the bus from a point A to point B. I don't know if there is much to say about it. There is obviously going to be some parts of the country that you'll be missing because you're traveling by bus, but you will be saving so much money that you can spend this extra money onto tours in order to go to selected places. So I don't really see that too much of a negative. It is one of our favorite ways to travel around New Zealand just because of the whole convenience. What I like when being in a bus, and we will talk about different type of buses, that's the next 3 points are type of buses. But what I really enjoy is the fact that you get to see the scenery and you get to enjoy it rather than driving on really small winding roads. So traveling by bus in New Zealand is pretty awesome. So that was national coach buses. Is there more bus tours in New Zealand?
Well, there are bus tours or coach tours in New Zealand, which are basically fully guided tours. And this is usually a really good option if you have limited time in New Zealand, which is the case for Simply Stocks, who has given us this question, just 5 days. So there are, for instance, 5-day bus tours. I think only 5 days would do just one of the islands of New Zealand, but that's still like a really good option if you have limited time. And basically, bus tours are where most things are organized for you, the itinerary, where you're going. It's on a set itinerary for a set amount of days, and there's usually inclusions. For instance, a lot of bus tours in New Zealand have breakfast included. They have the accommodation included. They have some other meals included. Some of them will have, say, every lunch and dinner included, while other ones might have just a few dinners included or a few lunches included, and they'll stop at various different lunch places on the journey away, so all the passengers have the freedom to go check out whatever food places they want, for instance. And some bus tours do have some activities included. There are quite a few bus tours in New Zealand that have, for instance, the Milford Sound cruise included or the Waitomo Caves included. So it's good when you're comparing different bus tours to just have a look at what activities are included and see obviously where they go to on the itinerary to see if they're going to the places that appeal to you. But on top of that, bus tours do have the flexibility of having optional activities added on to the tour. So you basically just need to either let your driver know, or when you're booking your tour, you can usually book some extra activities, for instance. So it does have the flexibility to add some extra activities that you might want to do in New Zealand, obviously for an extra cost, but it has the convenience of being organized for you by the bus tour company. So that's a really good option if you have limited time and also just want to relax and not stress too much about planning your trip.
All right, so something a little bit in between is the hop on hop off buses. So that's I think that's number 7. We just did like a lot of different ones. We are number 7, hop on, hop off buses. So they're kind of a mix between the national coach buses and the bus tours. In such that you're buying a pass basically for a certain route, and then you're going to be going basically from, let's say, Auckland to Coromandel, for instance, and this will take you the whole day. So you're going to stop along the way, see a couple of places. You can pay extra to do some activities, and then they drop you off in a place where you will have to buy your own accommodation there. And then they have a schedule. So if with 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, they have another bus that comes, and then you can hop on into the next bus and then keep on going. And that gives you extra time to explore the area as you go. So that's great if you have about a month to 2 months to travel around New Zealand, as it allows you to kind of make your way around the country and explore quite a lot. A couple of word of warning on those kind of buses. So there is Flying Kiwi, there is Kiwi Experience, and there is Stray. Those bus passes are always on special, so never buy them full price. That's the first thing. And second, make sure that is the right thing for you, and make sure you put all the inclusions in there and you calculate everything, because some of the bus tours, which already have the activities included and already have the bike rentals included and all those kind of things, they sometimes end up being cheaper than getting the hop on, hop off and having to buy all those activities on top. Because remember, when you do a hop on, hop off tour, your bus driver is also your tour guide, but he's also a salesperson that's going to try to sell you more and more and more activities along the way. So you need to have a decent budget in order to decide to go for something like that. We do have a lot of information about hop on, hop off buses on nzpocketguide.com. We have a ton of videos on each channel. We even have like a video where we battle, like, which one is the best between Stray and Kiwi Experience, which is a bit dated now, so we need to redo this video actually at some point. But there is a lot of information out there, and if you do have extra questions about that, because it is not a cheap purchase and there is a lot of terms and conditions attached to it and not necessarily very obvious from the get-go, feel free to contact us on, you can send a comment on YouTube, any of the video, even on this one here, and ask your questions about it, and we'll make some videos to explain about that, or we'll point you out in the right direction, in the right article on nzpocketguide.com.
Yeah. Okay, next on the list for different ways to get around New Zealand, and this is something that we get asked about quite a lot, is the train network. Now, although New Zealand does have some trains, it's not a transport method that you should solely rely on to travel around New Zealand. The main cities like Auckland and Wellington, they do have sort of suburban train networks, but there's only actually 3 national train lines in New Zealand. So you can take a train from Auckland to Wellington on the North Island. You can take a train across the South Island from Christchurch to Greymouth, and you can also take a train from the top of the South Island down to, I think, only down to Christchurch. So that's from Picton to Christchurch. So that's only going to, if you are just going to be traveling New Zealand just by train, that's only going to allow you to see a tiny portion of the country. On top of that, the train departures are quite limited in New Zealand for these national train lines. In the low season, around the winter time, so that's usually between what's winter?
Oh, sorry. So it's between June and August. Between
June and August. So that would be just having a bit of a. Currently, right now, it's very cold. So yeah, around this time. So yeah, usually the departures during the low season around the winter time are usually about once every 3 days, and in summer they might have some daily departures just between Christchurch and Greymouth, but it's usually once every couple of days. So you can't really use the train to hop off somewhere. You have to kind of wait 3 days for the next train to get back on. So it's not a very good option if you have limited time, and it's not really a good option to be able to get off the train and see different places and, get back on the train in a good, convenient time. So yeah, trains do exist in New Zealand, but they're more of a thing to sort of complement your trip if you want to experience maybe some of the scenery by train and do it as an activity. Then that's more what the train journeys are about in New Zealand, not really about the transport.
All right, so the next type of travel, next transportation method to travel around New Zealand, and Michael Mariano right now on the live chat got it. It's plane, flight. And so he's asking, when traveling by air, how many options do we have? So that's a very good question. And so there are a lot of smaller like Sounds Air, for example. But there is just two mains that you're probably going to be using, and they are Jetstar and Air New Zealand. That's going to be the two options that you're going to have. But honestly, traveling by air in New Zealand is really not kind of recommended, and it's really not a method that we actually will be kind of telling you guys, oh yeah, you definitely should try that, because you're going to miss out on a ton of the beautiful sceneries. So just to give you an idea, right, if you were to drive from Auckland all the way down to Wellington, that will take you about 8 hours, 9 hours. You stop along the way, you experience a few things around, let's say 10 to 12 hours. That's a long day driving. So as you can tell, New Zealand is really not that big, and it's similar timing on the South Island as well. I was just giving you one idea, right? So New Zealand is really not that big. So it's not, if you don't have like a crazy time constraint, it's really not worth it to kind of take the plane and do the whole nonsense of having to go to the airport, boarding, checking the luggage. It takes so much time, and to miss out so much. New Zealand is more of a country that you explore by road. So traveling by air is going to be more in the case of you rent a car or a campervan from Auckland, you're driving all the way down to Queenstown, and then you fly back from Queenstown all the way to Auckland to leave then afterwards. So that'd be more the way we will use traveling by plane in New Zealand, but I wouldn't use that as my main method of transportation. I wouldn't fly from Auckland to Rotorua, and then flying from Rotorua to Wellington, and then flying from Wellington to Christchurch, and then flying from Christchurch to Queenstown. You will basically miss the whole New Zealand experience altogether. In our opinion, obviously it's just an opinion, right? But New Zealand is known for its fantastic scenery, and when you take commercial plane, you fly really, really high. Now, if you do want to experience New Zealand by air and you want to see those beautiful sceneries, while flying, there is a ton of flights, like tour flights, scenic flights, which are available around New Zealand, especially on the South Island, and they are phenomenal. And there is a ton of videos of us taking some of those planes on the channel. So that's our take on planes. And we're moving on to the last one, which is a little bit of a stretch, but the last one on our list, number 10.
Yeah, so number 10 on our list of ways to get around New Zealand is hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is quite popular in New Zealand, definitely for people on a budget, and you will find that, hitchhiking does occur quite a lot. But there's obviously some downsides to hitchhiking in that you can't really hitchhike around New Zealand if you're on a tight schedule. There is a lot of
plan much, can you?
You can't really plan much. There's a lot of waiting around. People that pick you up might not necessarily be able to take you all the way to where you want to go. So you have to take multiple journeys in order to get to the destination you're trying to head to. And there's also the obvious risk of hitchhiking in that you don't know who you're getting into the vehicle with. There's a lot of things to weigh up. It's not like, I think, in countries like the US where it's like hitchhiking is like an absolute no-no. There's obviously been a lot of bad cases and stuff in other countries, whereas in New Zealand, the amount of cases of bad things happening to hitchhikers is very, very minimal. But you always are taking that risk, so you need to obviously keep that in mind and be quite savvy if you're hitchhiking, and be aware of if basically to say no if you don't want to get in the car with someone that looks dodgy, or be able to actually get out the car if if something goes wrong. So there's obvious risks to hitchhiking, but on the other hand, it is a free way to travel around New Zealand and maybe meet some incredible people, because not everyone that picks you up is a bad person. So
we do pick hitchhikers all the time, so maybe you will stumble upon us.
Yes,
it happened. That actually did happen multiple times.
Yeah, we do pick up hitchhikers when we see them, and we do meet some very interesting people, we have to say. But you do have to. I guess it depends what sort of person you are and what sort of trip you're on. If you've got lots of time in New Zealand and just want to slowly make your way around, then perhaps hitchhiking is a good idea. But definitely up to you with that one.
All right, so that was basically 10 ways to travel around New Zealand. I hope that you did find that useful. If you did, clicking the like button is a great way to reward us for all our hard work. It's also free for you, and it tells YouTube that all the content we're doing is quite useful. So that'd be phenomenal. If you do have a question of your own, you can join us during one of live session. As you can tell, this was recorded live. Michael Marino, for example, just started pitching in as we were recording this. So you can join us. It's at 8 a.m. p.m. on Sunday, New Zealand time, every single week. There is a link in the description below to check out what time it will be in your side of the world. There is also some link to relevant articles on the description below, so you can click and go to nzpocketguide.com and check out all the information. It's all free. And if you do want more of us, you can hit the subscribe button. And in the meantime, we'll get back to the live chat. All right, guys, as per usual, we will read every comment. I'm sorry we took a little bit long right here, but this question that we received multiple times, so we wanted to cover it. So Julie Mass already said hi. I'm glad to have you on board. Kirsty Wash says hello. Hey, Kirsty, how are you doing? Did you receive your present yet, or is it still up in the air somewhere? Tell us about it. So if you guys don't know, Kirsty won one of our giveaways that we did. That's almost a month ago now.
Yeah.
But everything I've been released. I have ordered some stuff online, and they are not here, nowhere near. Julie Mass says, I would like and work to New Zealand and travel with my family. I'm a mechanic and drive a truck. Oh, awesome. Well, you'd have a blast in New Zealand. Obviously, as soon as everything quiets down, you'll love it. It's really fun. Sherry Westworth, which is from Australia, says that not much has changed in Australia. Says too many cases for my taste. Not but it doesn't seem to be speeding up either. I hope you guys are doing okay right now too. Yeah, we're doing very well. We're not living in Auckland, so we are not really affected with the latest change. And I think there's a question about that coming up soon, so we'll cover that in a second. Jeffrey Melgarejo. I think I pronounced that pretty badly. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. He says, hey, greetings from Peru. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you? Michael Mariano says, good morning, everyone. Thank you for commenting while we're doing the video, Michael. That was really, really relevant. I enjoyed that. Still a ton of emoji. And if you guys don't know, Michael is from Hawaii. So he's in the South Pacific. I mean, he's in the Pacific, not the South Pacific, but the Pacific. So he's nearby. Anthony Comstock, which is from California, says Morena. If you guys are not sure, Morena means good morning in Maori, which is the local indigenous language. Sander de Vries, I think you're from the Netherlands, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
But he says, good morning. Are you affected by your new corona cases? So if you guys don't know in the news, we're just going to address that really quickly. If you guys don't know, if you haven't seen that in the news, New Zealand has had a few extra outbreaks of COVID-19. We were almost kind of done with it, and we were going back to normal life, except we were not allowing any incoming travels. But they have had a few outbreaks. And so I think there is about 50 cases around New Zealand right now. There's about 30 in the community, and there's about 20 which are in managed isolation. Don't take my word for it. When we do a proper video about those cases, we research. This one is just from the top of my head. So please just check the news if you want to know more. And also, that's the case at the time of recording. So what has happened is that Auckland, the whole greater city of Auckland, was placed in level 3, which means they are quarantined again for an extra 12 days. And we are not in Auckland, but we are in other places, and we're all on level 2, which means that there is extra precaution everywhere you go, and if you can work from home, you should work from home. Luckily for us, on a personal level, we work from home, so that's quite handy, and we don't have that much contact with too many people, despite the fact that sometimes we go to some gatherings, and there's a fefew gatherings coming up, but some of them get cancelled, some of them get reduced. You only meet up with 4 people rather than 20, and it's absolutely okay. Still, we don't have to wear masks all the time, and it's fine. I mean, it doesn't really affect our everyday life too much. So that's on a personal level. Sammy says hello Sammy, thank you very much for popping in. Sherry says, do you guys have road assistance for travelers? I've never hired a car, so I'm not sure if it's needed or if it's usually included in the company. Usually when you get insurance, you get road assistance with it.
I think all car rental companies, at least all the car rental companies that we recommend on nzpocketguide.com, they all have roadside assistance included. If you check some of our car and campervan rental company comparisons on nzpocketguide.com, we actually list in bullet points under each car rental company. We state if they have roadside assistance, and pretty much all of them do. So it's something that's included, and it's even included if you don't buy the extra insurance. Usually you can sort of pay a bit extra to get better insurance, but even if you don't pay that extra, roadside assistance is usually included. Obviously, always double check to make sure, but just as a general thing, that's what we can tell you.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is in the interest of the car rental company to have roadside assistance anyway, because if the car kind of breaks down, everything, they need to get that car back anyway, and all that, and otherwise, I mean, they will have to they have their own system or pay every time. It wouldn't make any sense for them not to have it. But yeah, make sure that you don't have to pay extra for it. Michael Marinos. Oh yeah, that was your question that I already answered, Michael. Thank you for asking. Lucas Yu says, hi from Singapore again. Last week I mentioned that I planned to move to New Zealand, and I was wondering if you could give your opinion on Wellington and Christchurch, as those are the two cities I'm considering. I think we actually have a video on the channel that compares and fight Wellington against Christchurch. So you may want to check this one out. But if I had to pick one, I think I would pick Wellington because, and to be fair, in any given day, I would pick Christchurch. It will depend on my taste of the day.
Your mood.
Yeah, it depends on your mood. I would pick Wellington because it's a great little town. It's the capital city of New Zealand, but it feels like a little town when you're around the town. There's a ton of really eateries and coffee. So if you want kind of like a really some kind of Instagram style city life, I think that you will really enjoy that. And also you're quite close to the Wairarapa region with a lot of exploring to do as well. Laura, what do you think about Christchurch?
For Christchurch, I think the advantage Christchurch has, first of all, it's on the South Island. So if you're preferring to see some more dramatic New Zealand scenery, like some mountains, but also farmland as well, on forests and various national parks, Christchurch has a really good position there. And it's basically has some amazing day trips to go to from Christchurch. So if you're basing yourself in Christchurch, you get to visit various amazing places around the South Island. For instance, you can go to Akaroa, which is really famous for being the French town in New Zealand, but also for having lots of amazing wildlife, as does Kaikoura, which is quite near to Christchurch, about 2 hours away. But you can also go inland to the Southern Alps, where you get to see some beautiful scenery of the mountains and all that good stuff. And there's, of course, lots of farmland because, well, New Zealand is a place full of farmland. So, so you get to do some really awesome sort of South Island day trips. As for the city itself, I think generally it's a little bit cheaper than staying in Wellington. So if you're trying to, live a bit of a cheaper lifestyle, then usually it has more of a benefit to stay in Christchurch. And I think it's a little less windier than Wellington. Wellington's known for being a pretty windy city, but Christchurch isn't too bad.
In short, both of them are awesome.
Yeah.
Sammy says, are still the EIO works? I don't know what EIO is.
Expression of interest.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's what it is. God, you guys are shortening every word you can find. You have to contact Immigration New Zealand. I think getting new expression of interest for people immigrating in New Zealand right now is at the bottom of their priority list. So even if it's open right now, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't lodge any application until at least a year from now when they try to work back on their entire backlog. So honestly, it will take them a year to 2 years to work back their backlog. They have been already extended all the timelines and everything a lot, even before COVID-19 happened. So I will definitely wait a year or two before lodging anything right now. But again, just my opinion, you can contact them and ask them if it's still open. And if it's still open, you can definitely start lodging your application. It's just, you have to pay fees and everything up front, and it will take months and months and months to even know that they received your paperwork. Jeffrey says, hi guys, I'm a bit worried since I won the working holiday visa and I must be there for September 30th of this year. And it is very likely that the border are closed. Will I lose my visa? Will there be an extension of the deadline? Yesterday, I saw a video of you and I subscribed to one. Greetings. Hey, thank you very much for subscribing, Jeffrey. That's nice. So, honestly, I'm going to give you a very similar answer that I just told to Sammy. The working holiday visa is always kind of at the bottom of the priority of Immigration New Zealand in normal times. So right now, in a time like that, it's even more at the bottom of priorities. So there is a lot of people in limbo right now, and there has been no announcement. There have been no plans. We have heard nothing about what will happen to those visas, and if you're going to be losing it or not, or if they're going to be extending it or not. Because the borders openings, it's probably not happening even before next year. If you saw a video with a prediction about when it will open. So for this reason, I'll be honest with you. Jeffrey, and I don't like to say that, right? But I will kind of plan my life without doing this working holiday visa for now. and you'll get back to it in about, whenever things open, if it gets back to it. But I think you have easily a good 6 to 8 to 9 to 12 months without even getting an answer. And when you're going to get an answer, it may not be the answer you want, because they may just say, well, now we get new applicants, so you either have to reapply or yours has not been extended because we can't handle having more people in, and all those kind of things. So I'm not sure, Jeffrey. So right now I will kind of plan my life and plan stuff around, but yeah, you probably won't be here before September. I'm almost 100% sure you're not coming here before September, because it's just not happening. So for this reason, I don't know. I don't like being I hate being you can see that physically I'm unhappy about giving you bad news, but yeah, I wouldn't plan my life around that. I will, if you want to go to school or anything like that, just keep, go to school, go do whatever you were planning on doing after your working holiday visa. And if it becomes something that you can be doing, then, rework your plan there. But I will say kind of plan around it right now, and I don't like saying that.
Yeah. But if there is any, if you want to get some more, I guess, concrete answers as well, it's always best to actually just give Immigration New Zealand a call. They probably won't give you the answer that you want, but it's just like another way to doubly confirm, just to see if they do extend the visas. But they're probably just going to tell you oh, we don't know yet. We don't know if there's no policies have changed or whatever at the moment. So yeah, it's you can always give them a call, but they probably don't even know themselves.
Okay. Sherry Westworth say, would you recommend picking up Hitchhiker as a solo female traveler? Well, since Laura did a whole video about being a solo female traveler, she's going to be answering to you. Yeah.
I think obviously if you're savvy enough and if the people that you see that want to be picked up, if they look okay, there's a lot of people that it's quite funny. We've had friends that have tried to be picked up as a hitchhiker, but they've had that covered their face and stuff and looked a bit dodgy, and they couldn't get picked up. But
if you look like you're about to rob a bank,
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that's a beef that I have with our friends, right? If you look like you're about to rob a bank, you're not going to be picked up as a hitchhiker.
And that's a good way to approach it. It's if you see someone that's kind of looking oh, why are they covering their face, or why are they wearing that weird hat, or usually you could just drive on by and just.
Why is he holding a giant knife? Don't hold a giant knife if you want to be picked up as a hitchhiker.
But yeah, it's usually if you feel okay, you feel it's these people just look like normal people, or this person looks like a normal person, you feel it feels safe to pick them up, then yeah, usually it's totally fine. I feel like I need to say it, but
hey, I mean, listen, they were stupid. It was funny.
Yeah. So usually I would prefer it if there was someone else in the car with you. If you're traveling by yourself, I think it would be better if you had someone else and you were picking up hitchhikers when there's two of you already in the car. But yeah, if you feel that the situation looks safe enough but if there's any doubt in your mind, I would not pick them up. And like how Robin and I were saying before, we've picked up quite a mix of people. Sometimes they've been just backpackers traveling around the country, which have been really good, and sometimes we've picked up people that were with a can of beer and they were drunk and they were spilling all over the car and stuff, and that's not quite a positive experience. So yeah, you kind of need to, although it's never good to judge people just by, looking at them, you kind of do need to do a little bit of that with hitchhiking. It's usually a good idea to judge people as you're about to drive up to them, do they look okay? Do they look like they're going to puke all over the car? So, yeah, I'd say go for it if you feel confident. It feels like a good, you feel confident that people look okay. And yeah, and you're feeling kind, but otherwise definitely don't feel pressured to do it. Yeah. And if you have any doubt in your mind that it's not going to be safe, then don't do it.
Yeah. In case of doubt, stay on your route. Here you go.
That's nice.
Anyway, cool. So that was for Sherry. So guys, again, we're reading every single one of the comments. So I know we're a little bit falling behind, but don't worry, Gus and Lucas and Alexandra and Rohan, we will read every comment. And if you do find all the information we give you guys useful right now, just hit the like button. It's really helpful for us. It's a great way to say thank you. So yeah, so if you hit like and we see them popping up like higher, we're like, yay, that's really nice. Kirsty says, unfortunately, she haven't received a present yet. So it looks.
Oh man.
I think there's a postman somewhere in the UK which is enjoying his wine cooler. I'm getting suspicious right here. Sadly, since from New Zealand you can't
track it.
You can track international parcels, or you have to go with like more something else than New Zealand Post. We can track it, but I'm gonna find that postman at some point. Oh, thank you guys for clicking the like button. You guys are awesome. Okay, Sammy says, I have a Master of Public Health. Is it possible to live permanently in New Zealand? We're a travel channel here, man, so we don't know. Maybe, yes, probably. There's always ways to immigrate in New Zealand. You will have to contact Immigration New Zealand and see that. You guys have to know, right? We do not have the right legally to give personal immigration advice to people. In New Zealand, you have to be a registered immigration advisor to do that, and we're not. So legally, it's against the law for us to do that for you guys. So that's why we never give you personal immigration advice. And second, right now, everything about immigrating in New Zealand is completely changing. Our biggest economy maker, which our biggest money maker in our economy, which was tourism, has collapsed. So we got a lot of people which are unemployed and are changing professions and all those kind of things. So I think the whole immigration landscape in the next 12 months is completely going to change. So whatever research you're doing now, you will have to redo everything in about a year or more. So keep that in mind when you do research. And since anyway everything is so far behind in all the applications and everything like that, Immigration New Zealand, nothing is going to be processed within like 12 to 24 months if you get started now. So I don't know. I wouldn't even just get started on that.
Yeah.
Kathy White says, greeting from Tennessee. Hey, glad to have you on board another week, Kathy. Thank you very much for joining on. Sami says he's from Kurdistan region in northern Iraq. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. I guess you guys are not as cold as we are right now because it's really cold here. Extreme Talota says Morena Kutu. That means good morning in Maori. So good morning you, or good morning you guys in Maori, which is the local indigenous language. Then we have someone which is sending a lot of message in French. So I'm going to translate that to you guys so we can talk about it. So Alexandre, just so you know, all this channel is always in English, right? I only did one video in French and we focus just on that. So all the answer we can give you is always going to be in English so everybody can enjoy it and everybody can, learn from it. So he says, I would like to work in New Zealand. And is it complicated with COVID-19? Yes, you are not able to come to New Zealand right now and the borders are not going to open until next year. He said, I would like to work for 6 months. Is it hard to find a job here? No, we have a lot of videos about finding jobs in New Zealand, like especially temporary jobs when you come in New Zealand on a working holiday visa. So we have a ton of advice here. And you can go to www.nzpocketguide.com. There is a link in the description, and that will help you do all your research. So you'll be all good with that. And he says sorry for the chunked messages because there was a bug. No problemo. And yeah, so if you do have more specific questions or anything like that, just make sure you put them in the live chat right now. And we try to do everything in English, not because I don't want to speak French or anything like that. First up, I don't want to speak French because I haven't spoken French in a long time and my French is terrible now. But it's also because it helps everybody kind of learn from it. English is a little bit more of a universal language than French, so it helps everybody kind of plan their trip around. But yeah, more questions. But I mean, he says, I left the army and I'm not sure what to do next year. And he would like to go to New Zealand to work and improve his English, which is not that great. But a great way to start improving your English is to start doing your communications in English. So you can get started now with us and just ask us your questions in English. And that will give you a little bit more confidence in speaking English when you come to New Zealand. Because yes, you will have to speak English when coming to New Zealand since there is no French speaker here. I mean, there is a very small community. Rohan says, I got offer a place for February 2021 intake. So that's probably for studying in New Zealand. Will the border be open by February 2021? Rohan, we have a whole video with our predictions. So the truth is nobody knows. But we did make some predictions. We did try to actually find some predictions. And we did a whole video for you. So you may want to check this one out. It's the second to last video in our playlist called Travel News. So there you go. That should help you out. Sami says, thanks for all your efforts. And Laura, do you want to read Rohan's next question?
Sure. So Rohan says, how are civil engineering jobs in New Zealand? construction have good scope. So yeah, construction. Actually, in New Zealand, there is a lot of opportunity for jobs. In terms of civil engineering specifically, obviously, we're not really experts in careers and that sort of thing in New Zealand. We're more focused on travel on this channel rather than specific careers. But as general advice, we can tell you that there are a lot of construction in the cities of New Zealand. In Auckland, they are forever doing construction on the city centre, for instance. It's a building site at the moment because they're putting lots of new sort of train tunnels and stuff under the city. So there's always that, and they're always developing. And in the Christchurch area, that was known around 2010, 2011. It had a huge earthquake over there. So they're actually still rebuilding the city and still need a lot of help with construction there. So there are quite a lot of jobs for construction, yes.
Now we also have Gus Roberts, Curioso Buscando Requepesca. I probably destroyed your name. I'm sorry, Gus. He says, hola, guys. Hola. And you say, it looks cold there. Yes, it is cold. It is
very cold today.
This morning was 0 degrees Celsius, which is about 32 Fahrenheit. So very cold. It says, greeting from Portugal summer. I'm very jealous, Gus.
Yeah.
Right now, we're not friends, Gus. Send me your son, then we'll be friends. I'm really cold today. Yes, it is very cold today.
Yeah, it's beautiful and sunny today, which is really nice, but it has been super frosty last night. And that's why we got our beanies and scarves on right now.
So right now it's 8:46 in the morning as well. So, it will warm up and about 10 or 11 we'll be outside, enjoying life. But right now, it's the morning, it's cold.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you for your answer. I was moving toward Christchurch. The more research I did until I crossed the safety, first the earthquake and then the shooting. That's why I'm on the fence again. What? The earthquake happened once and the shooting happened once, and the shooting was from an Australian guy. Don't panic about it.
Yeah, there's also fault lines. There's also fault lines in Wellington. Wellington gets earthquakes as well. It's just they haven't had as big or as devastating of an earthquake as Christchurch did. So that's also the thing coming to New Zealand. Yes, there is earthquakes in New Zealand. So they're not there's thousands of earthquakes happen every day. Nobody really feels them, but they do have the odd other ones that you can feel. It's just it's a minor risk. You're probably more likely to get hit by a bus.
You're probably more likely to crash when driving in normal everyday life at an intersection. So don't panic about it. And if you only kind of focus between Wellington and Christchurch is earthquake and shooting, remove those two, and just choose the city because they are really inconsequential.
Yeah.
Anthony Comstock says, at least it's not 103 Fahrenheit like it is where I am. 103 Fahrenheit is about 40 degrees Celsius. Right now for us, it is 0 degrees Celsius and about 32 Fahrenheit to give you an idea. So I will trade places any time of the week right now.
I feel like I haven't even experienced 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, when we go to the island, it gets really hot. No. I don't know if it's 40, but it gets really hot.
No, it's not. It never. It's 28 at the highest.
Okay, really hot. Okay, well, maybe it's harder for Anthony. I'm not sure. I don't know if I ever did. South of France.
I was going to say, like, South of France probably does get that hot.
I don't think. I'm not really that bothered by heat too much. I mean, I don't know. At the moment, I used to be more bothered by heat than by cold, but now I think I'm more bothered by cold than heat. Yeah, people change.
Yep.
Here you go. Rak says, hi guys, this is Ashwin from India. I have seen scuba diving video, but still, which is the best place for scuba diving? What's your favorite, Laura?
I think, one of the most memorable for us was at the Poor Knights Islands, which is in the Northland region of the North Island, near the city of Whangarei. It's a really amazing place. We do have a video on a scuba diving there. So that's Poor Knights Islands. We went into an incredible sort of arch where all these blue schools of fish were, and sort of all sorts of all sorts of amazing, colourful. It kind of felt like we were doing scuba diving somewhere in the tropics. It was quite weird, but yeah, that was a really memorable place to go. Scuba diving.
We also did scuba diving around Mercury Island, and it's you depart from the Coromandel area, and it's really fantastic. We saw octopus and everything like that, and also it's a very convenient place to go because a lot of people go to the Coromandel area when traveling around. So yeah, it was a phenomenal place to scuba dive as well. Laura, you did scuba diving in the Bay of Island all the way up Northland. Did you like it?
Yeah, so that was another really cool place, and that was quite different because the underwater environment there were all kelp forests, so you could sort of see lots of amazing different types of fish around there, and sea urchins and all sorts. So that was a really good one to do as well. There's also a couple of wreck dives near the Bay of Islands as well. So if you want to do that sort of thing, if you're a qualified diver, then there's a lot of opportunity to do wreck dives too.
There is also a very unique scuba diving option in New Zealand, which is in Milford Sound. So it's really, really famous, Milford Sound, for being super scenic. But also underwater, there is very unique wildlife because there is black coral. So it's one of the only places, like only easily accessible places around the world where you can do that. It's quite amazing and very unique. However, it's very much it's even more weather dependent than other scuba diving places, because if there is a lot of rains, which happen a lot in the fjordland area, there is a lot of runoff, and then it makes the water very murky. And for a bit more introductory dive, they usually don't want the water to be too murky as well. But another great other great places to scuba dive in and around New Zealand is to actually travel to some of the South Pacific islands. So New Zealand is located very close to a lot of amazing tropical paradise that you can fly to, and a lot of people that come to travel around New Zealand, they also just take 1 week to go to either Fiji or Tonga or Samoa or Niue. And there are some amazing scuba diving options there. For example, in Niue, it's a place which is world famous for phenomenal scuba diving spots, because the whole island does not have a single natural runoff, which means that basically they're sweet. The water is like as clear as it gets, and it cannot get any clearer, basically. So it's quite phenomenal, and you can check nuepocketguide.com. It's our website by Niue. So Niue is, do you want to spell it?
NIUE.
And so that's a really great, nuepocketguide.com. You can check out our guide to that. It's a really great place. Great scuba diving there. There's also awesome scuba diving in Tonga. There is some amazing one in Fiji as well. So that's also a really good option for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope that gives you some good option, Rack. If you do have any follow-up questions, go ahead. Sherry says, what are your thoughts on small group tours after COVID? Are they running at the moment? And I feel like they're going to be affected a lot by the social distancing. So at the moment, right now, this week, they are running under very strict conditions, and a lot of them basically are not running at all. But just before, the second outbreak, they were running, and you could hop on the bus tour to go to explore this little area, or to go check out this gannet colony or this penguin colony or this and that. So you definitely could do them. And they were taking extra precautions, but they were.
Yeah, there wasn't social distancing. Yeah. Like once just before this latest outbreak happened, basically any of the new cases coming into New Zealand were all in quarantine. So basically, the whole of New Zealand was running like normal, except for the fact there was no international travelers. So small group bus tours, for instance, were traveling around the country as normal, no social distancing sort of stuff happening. It was like a normal bus tour, except for, less people, because usually they are filled up by international travelers. But it's
very much people.
Yeah, so they are definitely, I think any tour you go on right now will be a small group. You might be the only one on it. But it's pretty much running the same.
Private tour.
Yeah, they'll be running the same, but maybe having less departures and maybe only running perhaps once or twice a week. So they're just small differences on some of the small group bus tours.
All right, so then Alexandre just says, still in French, I will try to write in English now. So that's good. I'm looking forward to see what you're asking. Rohan says, how are the living expenses in Auckland? Can I work while I'm studying? If yes, how many hours can I work a week? So the amount of hours that you can work for a week when you're studying depends on your student visa. So depending on what visa you get, it will depend on what are the working condition allowed. So you will have to see that with Immigration New Zealand. As when it comes to the cost of living in Auckland, we actually have a full video about that when we talk about rent, we talk about transportation, we talk about the cost of food, we talk about the cost of going out and all that. So you should check this video out. We go over everything for you. So I think that's definitely something you want to check out and take some notes while you watch the video so you can do your math and see, because not everybody eats out every day. So you can just do your math and see what works. Anthony Comstock says, my buddy's mom went to the hospital because of dehydration on Tuesday and is still in the hospital. That is therefore very hot.
Wow.
Okay, you win. That's fine. You can keep your heat. That is very hot. Yeah. Alexander say, he's asking in English. So for work in New Zealand, the holiday visa is a good idea or bad idea? It's a bad idea. You cannot work in New Zealand on a holiday visa. If you have a working holiday visa, then at that point you can work in New Zealand. Or if you have a work visa. So it has to be working holiday visa or work visa. You cannot work in New Zealand on a holiday visa, which is usually a visitor visa. So you cannot do that. You will have to have a working holiday visa. And if that's what you were talking about, the working holiday visa is a fantastic idea to come to New Zealand, work and travel. I will suggest you come to Auckland, you maybe go with the English courses. We have our own website, but we don't have a channel. When we do some videos about Fiji, we just do them here. But yeah, so FijiPocketGuide.com, it's the largest travel guide to Fiji, and yes, it's from us.
Yeah.
Lucas says, I see. I come from a place where there are 0 earthquake and guns are banned. So naturally, those issues stuck out for me. By the way, you guys do a splendid job, this channel and the live chat. You're very welcome. Lucas, did you check NZPocketGuide.com? There is really a lot of information on the website. We're not trying to sell you on anything, by the way, guys. The website is all entirely 100% free to use, right? It's just that when we talk with you guys, we kind of tell you what comes in your head when you ask the question. But if you check the website, there's everything where we research the whole subject. And there's over like 3,500 articles, I think, now. And we just finished re-updating everything and stuff. So you have a lot of info on there. So yeah, Lucas, did you check out the website? And if not, why? Tell us why. Is it because you prefer talking to us rather than reading, or what's? It's fine either or, but yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for the niceness.
Fiji.
Fiji Pockets. Yeah, I'll do the. It looks like there is a little bit of a bug, so we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop a little bit. We're just gonna take the time to type the address for people. Okay, is everything back, or are we still buffering? Guys, tell us.
Let us know if you can
see
hear us.
YouTube has been a bit. As you can see, the state of internet in New Zealand is.
It's a little off and on, yes.
Yeah, but so yeah, we were talking about the island of Fiji, which is a tropical island group. So it's not just one island. A lot of people think Fiji is just one island, but there is 333 islands in the country of Fiji. So yeah, there is quite a lot of islands over there to explore.
Yes.
Anyway,
we're back.
We're back. All right, cool. So what were we saying? Oh yeah, Lucas, we were asking you to tell us what happened. What we were talking about Fiji over there. Okay, Lucas, you were saying about the earthquake and everything. And you were saying that because guns are banned, naturally those issues stuck out for me. And you said, by the way, you guys do a splendid job on this channel and live chat. So Lucas, we were responding to you, and I was asking you if you like what we do on the channel right here. Did you ever check the website as well, nzpocketguide.com? And if yes, did you like it as well? Or if not, why did you decide to just look at the videos and not check the website? It would be interesting for us to know that. So the reason why we always talk about the website is not to sell you something, guys, because the website is all 100% free as well. It's just because usually and we decide to write a full page about the subject, we do even more research. When you just ask a question, we just tell you everything we remember, but sometimes we miss some stuff.
Yeah.
On the website, we don't. way too much information on the website, which is good.
Yeah, and on the website as well, you can sort of take in the information at your own pace, and there's a lot of articles that relate together. If you want to look up more about a certain subject, we usually have a ton of different articles about that subject. So it's usually like a little easier to follow and go at your own pace. Whereas sometimes we do talk a little bit fast on this channel. You might miss a few things as well. So we have that website as well to also help you plan your trip in New Zealand, but give you some extra details as well.
So Alexandre was asking the island of Fiji. So yes, Alexandre, if you don't know, so we run a website called NZPocketGuide.com, which is the largest travel guide to New Zealand. But we also run FijiPocketGuide.com, which is the largest travel guide for Fiji. We also run TongaPocketGuide.com, which is the largest guide to Tonga. And we also run NuePocketGuide.com, which is the largest guide to Niue. So we have several different websites, several different travel guides that we always keep up to date. We travel between those places all the time to make sure that you have all the information you need to travel any of those countries. Everybody tell us we're back. So that's awesome. Thanks to Sherry. Thank you. Lucas says, yes, I checked out both the website and his channel video, but I like engaging too, in case some stuff may be outdated. Oh, cool. And he says, great website in China, it must be said. Oh, thank you very much. So one of the things which we actually have on the website is that at the bottom of every article, we have a section that says, was this article useful or not? Or does it need improvement? And if you click it needs improvement, you can tell us if something is out of date and we can just go and update it. And, because we do update the whole website regularly, but with 3,500 articles and we create some all the time, we're going to be about 4,000 by the end of the year. Sometimes there's things that, slip through the cracks and that's normal. And so we rely a lot on the community and we do have almost 100 people every week that tell us, oh yeah, this can be changed, this can be changed. And we change things all the time. So that's thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
MB1968 say morning whanau. So that means whanau means family. So mornings everybody. How are you doing? You are joining us at the end of the live session today, MB. Did you sleep in today? Did you were you cold and you had a bit of a sleep in? Is that what happened? Anyway, I'm just being cheeky. All right, guys. So we spent about an hour with you guys right now. So thank you very much for joining us. We do that every single week. So, you can pop in and ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. And if you can't make it to this live session, if you end up watching this video and be like, damn, I wish I was spending time with those guys, hanging out with them, talking about traveling in New Zealand, that look cool. Well, you can ask your question in the comments of any of our videos, and then we print them like we did with one of the questions that we did today, and we can answer them during the live chat. So either join us next week. It's at 8 a.m. Sunday, New Zealand time, every single week. If you want to know what time it is for you in the world, it's probably around Saturday. And there is a link in the description of this video where you can click on it. And I put every single live session that we're doing. You click on which one you want to join, and it tells you where you are in the world and what time it's going to be for you. That is really handy. I often
forget where I am in the world. So.
I always like, what is going on?
That would be really handy for me.
So yes, that's pretty cool. You can join us live as well. There is also almost 1,000 videos on this channel. So there's plenty of research that you can be doing here. And there's also the website NZPocketGuide.com. We just talked about it quite a while. There's a link below. It's the Bible of traveling in New Zealand. There's so much information there, so you can pick up brain all the time.
Yeah.
What else did I forget, Laura? Oh, Facebook and stuff. So actually, there is a guy. I want to talk about a French guy that contacted us on Facebook. His name is Arthur Wasson. And he's traveling around New Zealand right now. Arrived in Westport, and you saw a lot of billboard advertising featuring our faces, and we didn't know about it.
Lucky Westport.
Yeah, so if you are in Westport right now, if you happen to be in Westport, guys, you will see our faces in big billboards of us traveling in New Zealand. Look how we're walking and everything. So if you ever see pictures of us traveling in New Zealand, send us some pictures. We find it really funny. And if you don't know, we have a Facebook page. Obviously, the link is somewhere in the description. If you want to like us on Facebook, today or tomorrow, I'm actually going to post on Facebook those pictures of us on billboards. If you guys want to have a bit of a giggle,
laugh, yeah.
If you want to have a bit of a laugh. So we did find that really funny. Cheeky Westport over there. So we'll post those pictures on Facebook in the next couple of days. So make sure you check this one out and you see our faces in billboard in the town of Westport on the west coast of the South Island. Anyway, I think you guys gonna find that funny. Anyway, Facebook, like, subscribe, YouTube and all these kind of things. Anyway, we'll
do
see
the
you next
stuff
week.
that YouTube wants you to do,
Yeah,
and
do
it'll
those
be good for
things.
our channel.
Yes, as you see, we're not here to ask you stuff. It just doesn't work that way. We answer questions. We don't ask you to do that. And MB, yes, we're good on level 2. We're having a blast. Anyway, thanks everybody. Have a lovely week.
Yep. See you
Bye-bye.
next week, and stay safe.
And check the Facebook page this week when I post those things. It's gonna be funny.